All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again here to another edition of Planetarium Online. My name is Andrew, and I am one of the planetarium educators at Liberty Science Center in Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm very happy to be here with you all today, very excited to talk all about the upcoming solar eclipse, which will be happening next week on June the 10th. So during this program today, we're going to be talking about how to view the eclipse, both practically and how to view it safely. Talking about where you need to be to view it. We'll talk about some other really exciting upcoming solar eclipses happening in 2023 and 2024. Talk about why eclipses happen in the first place. So we have a lot to go over today. Um, as always, if you have questions during the program today, you can ask those always in the comments here on Facebook, here on the live video. I'll be keeping my eye on them during the program. And we have my colleagues Mike and Krista, who many of you know, who will be answering some questions in the comments as well. But before we get started, a couple of sort of housekeeping things. And I guess to start off with on a little bit of a sad note, today is going to be the last of our regular planetarium online shows. We've been doing these. Last year we did them weekly, and for the last several months we've done them. Once a month. And today is going to be the last of our regular planetarium online shows. We will still be around anytime something really exciting happens in the sky or any really exciting space news. We will be back with more, but this is going to be the last of our regular planetarium online shows, as Liberty Science Center is really beginning to reopen on an extra day this summer. So on a personal note, I recognize a lot of names in the comments that have been viewing these for the past, what's it been, year and 2 months or so at this point, and I just want to thank everyone for tuning into these during a wild year and a half. Being able to come on here and connect with so many of you has been a wonderful time for me, and I hope it was for you all as well. But if you really miss me, you can of course come and see me at Liberty Science Center. I will be doing shows there in the planetarium all summer. So if you really miss me or the planetarium, feel free to visit us anytime during the summer. We'll be open literally all summer, Wednesdays through Sundays, beginning on June the 23rd. We would love to see you in the main planetarium. We just opened some really exciting exhibits at Liberty Science Center. We opened up our Sue the T-Rex exhibit, which is a really awesome exhibit focusing on dinosaurs. And we also opened up a really great Hot Wheels exhibit as well, which are going to be with us all summer long. So yeah, we'd love to see you come by and check us out at Liberty Science Center. If you want to buy tickets, you can visit our website, which is lsc.org. Especially if you're looking to come to the planetarium, we really recommend buying tickets in advance, as tickets for the planetarium shows sell out very quickly, especially on a busy weekend day. If you would like to support us at Liberty Science Center, visiting us is a wonderful way to do that. There is also a donate button somewhere around my head now. If you'd like to, and if you are able to financially support Liberty Science Center, that is of course much appreciated. So we do know that we will be doing another planetarium online show in November. There is a very exciting partial lunar eclipse happening on November 19th, so somewhere around November 19th, we will be back doing another planetarium online show. So yeah, I believe that's all I wanted to go over here today before we begin. So let's go ahead and talk about this upcoming solar eclipse. So for starters today, what kind of eclipse is this going to be? It's going to be what is called a partial solar eclipse. What does that mean? Well, a partial solar eclipse is what happens when the sun is partially eclipsed by the moon. It'll look a little something like this, where the sun is not completely covered by the moon, but it is at least partially covered. So what we're going to be experiencing from most of the areas where this eclipse is visible, and from New Jersey and the northeast of the United States, will be a partial solar eclipse. So this will be happening very, very early in the morning on June the 10th. So this is what it will look like. This is again from the perspective of Liberty Science Center. If you were standing on the roof of the Science Center, and you could magically take away all the buildings and the skyline of New York City, this is what we would see. Facing over toward the east, I guess the northeast, to be exact, at about 4:20 in the morning. This is right before sunrise. Now, this is a really exciting eclipse because when the sun rises, when the sun actually rises in the sky, it will be eclipsed already. This is very rare. This almost never happens during eclipses like this. But when sunrise happens at about 5:30 in the morning, the sun will be eclipsed. About 75–80% or so of the sun will be covered by the moon. Now, to view this, you really need to find somewhere where you can see the northeastern part of the sky without much blocking your horizon. Any trees, any buildings toward that northeastern sky is going to make this very difficult to see. Because as the sun rises at 5:30 a.m., it's of course going to be very, very low in the sky. This eclipse is then going to continue in its partial phase until about 6:30 in the morning. So from New Jersey, right, we're talking just from New Jersey or really anywhere in the northeastern part of the US, this is what we can expect to see. From about 5:30 in the morning to about 6:30 in the morning, the sun will be partially eclipsed. But what if you don't live in the northeastern US? Right, what other places around the world can you view this eclipse from? Well, thanks to our friends at timeanddate.com, this is a map of the eclipse as at least parts of the world where we will be able to view this eclipse from. Anywhere on this map that is a yellow or orange shaded color will be somewhere in the world where you can view this eclipse. Now, this very dark region, this sort of dark orange color, stretches from northern Canada to Greenland and parts of northeastern Siberia. You're going to see a different kind of eclipse. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But anywhere here where you can see this sort of shaded in area here, you'll be able to view at least some of this partial eclipse. The darker it is, the more of the sun that will be covered up by the moon. So if you're in Europe or parts of Asia, you'll be able to see this eclipse. If you're in the western US or way down south in the US, unfortunately this is not going to be visible from where you are. Anywhere on this map that is sort of shaded a yellowish or orange color, you'll be seeing a partial eclipse. If there's anyone tuning in from way northern Canada or northeastern Siberia, you'll be seeing a different kind of eclipse. An eclipse that's called an annular eclipse, sometimes known as a ring of fire eclipse. This happens when the moon, as we see it from the Earth, sort of fits inside of the sun. So the moon doesn't completely cover the sun, but it gets pretty close. We call this a ring of fire eclipse sometimes because it looks like there's a ring of fire surrounding the moon. So if you're in any of those areas, And by looking through the comments today, I didn't see anyone mention that this is where they were from. But if you happen to be in any of these areas here, highlighted in this sort of dark orange color, that's what you'll be seeing is an annular solar eclipse. Anywhere else highlighted yellow or orange, you'll be seeing this partial eclipse, where part of the sun is going to be covered. Now, anytime we're doing science, right, anytime we are looking at the sky, the first thing we need to worry about is safety. So during a solar eclipse, during a partial solar eclipse, a good part of the sun is still visible. And if you wouldn't go outside on a normal day and look directly at the sun, you also shouldn't do that during a partial solar eclipse. It's not safe to ever look directly at the sun if any part of the sun is still visible. So, there are some ways that we can view this eclipse, this solar eclipse, safely. The best way to do that is by using what are called eclipse shades. These are glasses, not sunglasses. These are very special glasses that are designed to block out 99.9% of the light that comes from the sun, making it safe on your eyes to look at the sun. These are really great. If you have a pair of glasses left over from the last big solar eclipse in 2017, you can use those again. My piece of advice, though, check them very carefully. Make sure that the eyepieces here are still intact. There's no holes or punctures. They haven't peeled away. Just make sure that they are totally intact. If you'd like to purchase these, I would check online. There are still some websites that can sell them to you, and who can have them shipped out to you in time for next week. B&H Photo is one. There's a website called Rainbow Symphony, which specializes in selling eclipse glasses. There are some sellers on Amazon as well. You can also call around to local stores. If any hardware stores will sometimes carry special eclipse glasses, but regular sunglasses do not block enough of the sun. They have to be these special eclipse glasses, these special eclipse shades. If you can't get your hands on any of those, though, this is my favorite way to view eclipses, using what's known as a pinhole projector. A pinhole projector is literally any object you can think of that has a small hole in it. For example, a colander that you would use to drain pasta will work. The little holes inside of leaves on trees, those work. Crackers with small holes in them. Even just taking your hands and making sort of a grid out of your fingers, that will work as well. If you have an index card, for example, you can make the easiest pinhole viewer imaginable. I have one right here. It's a very complicated, very complex scientific instrument. It's an index card that I have poked through with a pen. That's all you need. If you have one of these, you want to angle it so that sunlight is shining through the hole and the other side is facing toward either a wall, the ground, or projecting onto a piece of paper. You never want to look directly at the sun. So do not take your pinhole projector and look through the sun like that. You will damage your eyes absolutely. A pinhole projector is an indirect way of viewing a solar eclipse. It's an indirect way of doing that. You're not looking directly at the sun, but you are looking at a projected image of the sun that travels through the little pinhole, as my virtual green screen throws a fit and makes me vanish. But this is all you need. An index card that you've poked a hole through with a pin or the tip of a pencil, tip of a pen, a very, very small hole. That is a great, easy, very budget-friendly way. Literally, you need an index card, a piece of cardboard, something sturdy that you can poke a hole through. When I viewed the eclipse back in 2017, I brought one of these with me. What else did I have? I had crackers, and then also the light that's traveling through the little holes that we find in the leaves of trees. So those are two really great ways that we can safely view this eclipse. But I want to talk a little bit about why eclipses happen in the first place, right? Why do we experience lunar eclipses, or sorry, solar eclipses, excuse me, at all? At a basic level, a solar eclipse happens when the moon travels directly between the Earth and the sun. So the moon makes its regular orbit around the Earth. Once every 28, 29 days, the moon makes one full trip around the sun. And fairly rarely, usually on average twice per year, the moon gets to the exact right spot in its orbit that the moon will actually cover up the sun, or cover up at least part of the sun. What we'll be seeing next week is the moon traveling through the path of the sun, covering up a good chunk of it. And if you're in one of those lucky areas, you'll be seeing an annular eclipse where the moon will fit inside, at least our view of the moon will fit inside of the sun. But there is another kind of eclipse out there. We've talked about partial eclipses, we've talked about annular eclipses, but we're missing the big kind of solar eclipse. The sort of most exciting, I don't like to play favorites, but the most exciting of these solar eclipses is what's known as a total solar eclipse. Anyone who was lucky enough, the last time one of these happened in the United States was back in August of 2017. A total eclipse is, I mean, probably the coolest thing that I've ever seen. This is what a total solar eclipse looks like. The moon fits exactly in front of the sun, to the point where the whole main shape of the sun is covered, and all that we can see is the glow from the sun itself, the corona, this is called. Total eclipses are probably the most, I mean, it's the most excited I've ever been to look at something in space, and I think that that says a lot. So, total eclipses are very, very rare. They're very rare, and they're especially rare to be visible in the United States. So the next time we can see a total solar eclipse is going to be on April the 8th of 2024. April the 8th, 2024 is the next time we will be able to see a total solar eclipse from inside of the continental United States. On April 8th, this is the total eclipse map. Anywhere seen here in this yellow or light orange color, this part of the world, you'll be seeing a partial eclipse, where part of the sun will be covered by the moon. If you're lucky enough to reside within this very thin, dark colored line that that's been drawn on this map here, you will be witnessing a total solar eclipse, stretching all the way from Mexico up through the northeastern U.S. and up into parts of eastern Canada. Anywhere along this line you can travel to on April 8th, 2024, and you will be able to see a total eclipse anywhere in this yellow shaded line here. Some big cities that are in this path, we have Buffalo, Cleveland, Dallas. Yeah, Dallas is right there. So the eclipse happening next week is super exciting. But I have to mention April 8th, 2024 is the next total eclipse that will be visible from the continental United States. So those are, this is sort of the next total solar eclipse. After this, the next total solar eclipse visible from the continental US will be decades in the future. So this is a really, really great opportunity to see an eclipse. And I'm mentioning this now because I promise you it is not too early to start planning a vacation if you would like to make a trip to see this eclipse. 3 years in advance seems really early, but I promise you it is not. Hotel rooms, campsites, any accommodations are going to start to fill up very, very quickly. That's what happened in 2017, and I guarantee that's what will happen in advance of this eclipse as well. So, with all of that being said, just to recap, the eclipse we'll be seeing next week on June the 10th is not going to be total. This is going to be a partial solar eclipse, an incredibly exciting event that we can see by watching the sun rise very early in the morning on June the 10th. So, June 10th, very, very early on in the morning, we want to face toward the northeast. That's the part of the sky where the sun will be rising. Then you need to just wait for the sun to rise in the sky. It'll be doing that at about 5:30 in the morning. When the sun rises, it will already be eclipsed. Super cool, super exciting thing to check out. Recommendations though, find a place near you facing toward the northeast without any buildings or trees blocking your view of the sky. Because this will happen very, very low toward the horizon. Very low toward the horizon. And then the sun will stay partially eclipsed until about 6:30 in the morning. So 5:30 to 6:30 a.m., June the 10th, safely view the sun using eclipse glasses or a pinhole projector, and you can see this incredible partial solar eclipse. So we have a little more to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit more about the sort of the mechanics of eclipses, how special they are. But before we move on, I want to take a brief moment here, and I'm just going to look on through our Facebook comments here today, see if there are any questions that we have that we can answer so far. Let me see. So, will we be able to see the full eclipse in New Jersey? So, the full eclipse in New Jersey, and unfortunately, the full eclipse will not be visible from New Jersey. This eclipse next week is going to be partial from New Jersey, and also the eclipse happening in 2024 will also not be total from New Jersey. It'll also be a partial eclipse from New Jersey. Now, I really have to recommend, if you are excited about seeing this April 8th, 2024 eclipse, there is a gigantic difference between a partial eclipse, what we'd see from New Jersey, and a total eclipse, what we would see from anywhere from anywhere along that big line that stretches throughout the U.S. The difference between a total eclipse and a solar eclipse is literally night and day. During a total eclipse, it feels like nighttime. In the middle of the day, it feels like nighttime. It's really eerie. It gets 5 or 10 degrees colder. You can see stars and other planets in the sky. You can, if there's any animals around, they change their behaviors. It's a really eerie but incredibly exciting experience. So, if you live anywhere near this total eclipse path, anywhere near this, I really, 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 really cannot recommend enough traveling into the path of totality. Inside of this line, again, this is April 8th, 2024. This is 3 years in the future. So not this coming week, but 3 years in the future, you'll be able to see a total eclipse from inside of this line. And the difference between being 3 miles south of it and inside of it, again, is literally night and day. But for this eclipse coming up next week, if you're anywhere on this map that I'm about to show you that is highlighted yellow or orange, you'll be able to see the partial solar eclipse. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So to look at some more questions here, Mike wanted to know what happens if the Earth is in the middle of the sun and the moon. So if the Earth is ever, so if the Earth is between the sun and the moon, that's when we can experience a lunar eclipse. So a lunar eclipse happens when sort of the Earth gets in the way of the moon, and the Earth's shadow is cast onto the moon. So that's what causes a lunar eclipse. Now, if the sun ever gets between the Earth and the moon, then we're in big trouble. Something's gone horribly wrong. But if the Earth gets between the moon and the sun just right, that's when we can experience a lunar eclipse. And a lunar eclipse is going to be coming up on November the 19th of this year. So we'll be talking more about that as November 19th of this year gets a little bit closer. Okay. Okay, so what about Texas? What about Texas? So Texas for this upcoming week on June the 10th, Texas unfortunately is outside of this solar eclipse path. You will not be able to see the partial eclipse from Texas, unfortunately. However, if you are in Texas, April 8th, 2024, parts of Texas are going to be well within this path of totality. So Texas is out of luck for this eclipse coming up next week, but on April 8th, 2024, Texas is going to be a wonderful place. Let's see. So I have just seen here that Mike or Krista, excuse me, has just shared in the comments a really great link to timeanddate.com with a map of the 2024 eclipse. So timeanddate.com is a great website to look at anytime you want more information about where and when an eclipse will be visible. So anywhere around the world that you are, timeanddate.com has lots of great information about when and where to view eclipses from anywhere in the world. Okay, so what about New York, right? What about New York? So June 10th, next week. Flipping back and forth between my camera and my screen here. So New York next week we'll be able to see this partial solar eclipse. New York next week, anywhere you're at in New York, you'll be able to see this partial solar eclipse. Again, nice, excuse me, nice and early in the morning on June the 10th. Okay. So what about South Carolina? I believe most of South Carolina, the parts of South Carolina that are on the coast, we will be able to see this partial eclipse on June. So South Carolina, is certainly if you're close to the coast, you'll be able to see the partial eclipse. Wyoming, unfortunately, is going to be outside of the path of the eclipse next week. Unfortunately, I love Wyoming, but unfortunately, Wyoming is going to be just outside of the partial eclipse here. Let's see. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about actually another solar eclipse that's coming between next week and 2024. On October 14th, 2023, I'm throwing lots of dates at us today. October 14th, 2023, there is going to be an annular eclipse, right? That's the kind, that's that ring of fire eclipse where the moon almost covers the sun. Almost, but not quite. Anywhere in this dark region here, October 14th, 2023, you'll be able to see an annular eclipse. And anywhere in yellow or orange will be another partial eclipse. This is October 14th, 2023, sort of a good warm-up for the total eclipse in 2024. Now, total eclipses are very special to the Earth. And not every eclipse is a total eclipse. Some eclipses are annular eclipses because of one really big reason. The orbit of the moon is not completely circular. The orbit of the moon is slightly oval-shaped. So the distance from the Earth to the moon changes. At its closest, the moon is about 224,000 miles away. Whereas at its furthest distance away, from the Earth, the moon is about 252 100,000 miles away. So when a solar eclipse happens, when the moon is close to its furthest distance away, the moon looks too small in the sky to fully cover the sun. Because it's further away from us, the moon looks smaller. However, when a eclipse happens, when a solar eclipse happens, excuse me, when the moon is near its closest distance or perigee to the Earth, that's when we can get a total eclipse. The moon is exactly the right size to cover up the sun just perfectly. I mean, it's amazing because there isn't another place in the solar system where you can see total eclipses. It really is unique to the Earth. In fact, we don't, I mean, based on what we understand, really any planet out there in space would be very, very rare to have such a perfect Earth-Moon system as we do here on the Earth. For example, right, let's look at some other planets in the solar system. Mars has moons, right? Mars has exactly 2 moons by the names of Deimos and Phobos. Now, Deimos and Phobos are not a whole lot like the Earth's moon. These moons are a little unique, we'll say. They're a little funky, a little weird. Phobos here and its sibling Deimos are shaped like weird lumpy potatoes. They're very, very small moons. They used to be asteroids, actually, before Mars captured them from the asteroid belt. This is how big Phobos looks compared to the Earth's moon. Phobos is tiny compared to the Earth's moon. Absolutely tiny. And one of our rovers down on the surface of Mars, the Curiosity rover, actually captured what an eclipse would look like from the surface of Mars. It would look like this. Phobos never looks big enough in the Martian sky to completely cover the sun. Always too small. So you can get annular eclipses, you can get partial eclipses on Mars, but you will never get a total solar eclipse on Mars. The moons just aren't big enough to make that happen. There are other planets that have moons as well. Jupiter, for example, has some moons of its very own. Jupiter has 4 very large moons named Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. These moons have the opposite problem that Mars's moons do. These moons are big enough, right, to create a shadow. We can see the shadow of Io projected onto the surface of Jupiter. But the moons of Jupiter are so big that they cover too much of the sun. We can't really get a total eclipse from Jupiter because its moons are too big. So really, the Earth and its moon really is a Goldilocks situation. Our moon is not too big, not too small, not too close, not too far away. The Earth's moon is in the perfect orbit to give us amazing things like total eclipses. It's in the amazing place to give us partial eclipses like what we'll be seeing next week, annular eclipses like what we'll be seeing in much of the US on October 4th, 2023. So there's a lot that's really special about where we are, right? And the orbit of, and the size of the moon is just one of those very, very special things. So solar eclipses, again, are incredibly exciting events. June 10th, which is next week, we'll be able to see what's known as a partial solar eclipse on that day. June 10th, we'll be able to see a partial eclipse, which means the moon is going to be covering part of the sun. To view this from the great state of New Jersey or anywhere in the northeastern US, that's where we are sort of looking at here. You'll want to go outside before the sun comes up, very early, about 4:30 or 5 in the morning. Then we'll want to wait until the sun rises. Again, we'll want to wait until the sun rises. When the sun rises at about 5:30 in the morning, which we'll see here in just a moment, the sun will rise already partially eclipsed. Okay, so I've seen a really, really great question here. Are the rays from the sun during a solar eclipse more dangerous than the rays on a normal day? That's a really great question. And thankfully, no. If you aren't going to be staring at the sun, you don't need any extra protection to go outside during an eclipse. The sun's rays are not any more dangerous during a solar eclipse. The reason why we're talking about safety today is because during an eclipse is the only time when you would ever want to look at the sun, right? So on the day of on the day of this eclipse and on the day of any eclipse, you can walk around outside totally safe. But if you're going to look at the sun, only if you're going to look at the sun, you'll need something to keep you safe. Eclipse glasses, a pinhole projector. If you want to look at the sun, you'll need a safe way to do that. But just walking around outside during an eclipse, not looking at the sun, you'll be totally safe. Nothing to worry about. Let's see. One of us want to know, when is the next lunar eclipse? So when is the next lunar eclipse going to be happening? So it's going to be a lunar eclipse that will be happening on November the 19th. There will be a lunar eclipse happening on November 19th of this year. If you want to check out a lunar eclipse, November 19th will be the day to do that. And that'll be happening, I believe, pretty late in the evening, pretty late at night on November 19th. Let us see. Okay, one other safety note, right? One other very, very important safety note. If you have a telescope or a pair of binoculars, absolutely do not point them at the sun. Absolutely do not do that. Telescopes and binoculars magnifies light. So if you look at the sun through a telescope or a pair of binoculars, you can do more damage to your eye than just looking at it without them. There are filters, however, that you can buy with a telescope that can fit onto a telescope or can fit onto binoculars that can let you safely view the sun. But through a pair of binoculars, through a telescope, absolutely never look directly at the sun unless you have a special filter that makes that safe. You can really damage and hurt your eye. We absolutely do not want that to happen. Okay, so that's sort of most of what I wanted to go over today about eclipses, about the upcoming eclipse, and a couple more looking into the future. At this point, though, if we have any questions about our show, now would be the time to ask them in the comments. I'll be hanging out for at least the next few minutes to answer some more of your questions. But before we do finish today, again, this is going to be the last of our regular Planetarium Online shows. The next time we'll be doing a Planetarium Online broadcast will likely be someday around November 19th to help us all get ready for the lunar eclipse then. But this is going to be the last of our regular Planetarium Online shows. I want to thank everyone so much for sticking with us and watching so many of these. It's been a lot of fun personally to do all these, and I hope that we've all learned something in the, I don't know, 35, 40 or so of these shows that we have done. If you really miss me and you want to hear me talk about space more, you can do that by visiting Liberty Science Center. We will be open all summer long, beginning on June 23rd or June 22nd. We'll be open on Wednesdays through Sundays. Now and then we're open on Thursdays through Sundays. If you want to come and visit us, check out our website, which is lsc.org. You can view when we'll be open. You can purchase tickets. If you want to check out any of our other Planetarium Online streams, here on our Facebook page, we have recordings of every Planetarium online show that we've done. If you want to learn about astrology, if you want to learn about aliens, if you want to learn about black holes or planets, I promise we have a Planetarium online show that we've done in the past. Those are all archived here on our Facebook page. We have recordings of every Facebook live show that we've done, every Planetarium online show that we have done for the past almost a year and a half at this point. So with all that being said, that's going to be the end of sort of the main part of our program today. But I'm going to stick around for another few minutes, see if we have any more questions that we can go ahead and answer. Oh, Prashant asks a really great question. If the eclipse on June 10 starts at 5:30 a.m., why do we have to go outside at 4:30? A good question. I misspoke. You don't need to go outside quite at 4:30, but I have a hard time waking up that early in the morning. So if I plan to be outside at 4:30, it's much more likely that I'll actually be outside by 5:30. You're exactly correct. You don't need to be outside quite that early at 4:30. I would recommend getting outside a little before 5:30 to make sure you have a good viewing location. But you're right, you absolutely don't need to be outside quite that early. You can get at least another half hour of sleep because the eclipse itself won't be starting until about 5:30. Okay, so June wanted to know, can you put solar eclipse glasses on binoculars? So even putting solar eclipse glasses on binoculars is not going to make those safe. Putting on glasses and then looking through binoculars also isn't necessarily going to be safe. That's because the binoculars magnify the view of the sun so much that depending on how big your the binoculars are that you're viewing them from, the eclipse glasses won't necessarily be enough to totally protect your eyes. So the only way to safely view an eclipse through binoculars or through telescope is to have a special filter designed and built for them that fits on the outside of them. So that is the safe way to view eclipses, solar eclipses, using binoculars or a telescope. So in the Bronx, will the eclipse be visible from there? So absolutely. If you're in the Bronx, the partial eclipse will be visible. However, you will want to make sure you have a clear view, as clear a view as you can, of the northeastern horizon. I know from some places around the Bronx that's a really hard thing to do, but because the eclipse is going to be happening as the sun rises, it's going to be extremely, extremely low in the sky. So you'll want to make sure you have as clear a view as you can of the northeastern horizon. Again, because any buildings, any trees can get in your way. If you're in the Bronx, I know that can sometimes be a very, very difficult thing to find, is a clear view of the sky from anywhere. But try to do the best that you can to find a clear view of that northeastern sky. Can you use 3D glasses for eclipse glasses? Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, we cannot use 3D glasses as eclipse glasses. That's because 3D glasses don't block out any sunlight. The reason why eclipse glasses work is because they block out most of sunlight. 3D glasses don't do that. Your sunglasses, if you have sunglasses at home, those don't do it well enough. So you really do need specialized eclipse glasses designed specifically to look directly at the sun. Anything else, you risk permanently damaging your eyes. We, of course, do not want that to happen. Safety, of course, is our number one priority. The pinhole projector, my fancy, very advanced instrument. So a pinhole projector is a great way to indirectly Again, you're not looking right at the sun, but indirectly look at a partial solar eclipse. A pinhole projector is literally anything you can find with a teeny tiny hole in it, like this index card that I've poked the tip of a pencil through. What you want to do with this is angle it so that one end with the hole on it is facing toward the sun. And the other end will be actually projecting an image of the sun. Literally projecting an image of the sun, it's super cool, down onto a surface. That could be the ground, that could be a wall, could also be another sheet of paper, another index card, another anything that can capture that image. Point of something to keep in mind though is can be sometimes hard to get the pinhole image focused properly. So you might need to just move your index card back and forth, or your pinhole projector back and forth a little bit to get the focus right. So just experiment with it. There's about an hour worth of time where the partial eclipse is happening, so you have plenty of time. There's no rush to get everything perfect right away. You have some time. Yeah. And just to sort of show this one more time, you don't necessarily need a index card even to do this. A pinhole projector is literally anything with small holes in it. So these are some examples of what we can use. You can even just take your fingers and make a grid out of them. If there's any trees nearby, they too, the little holes in the leaves on the trees will act as little mini pinhole projectors. If you've got a colander that you would use to drain pasta, you can even use that. I used that back in 2017. It worked incredibly well. A cracker with little holes in it. Lots of options. Anything with a little teeny tiny hole in it. I've seen some crazy ideas used in the past to make a pinhole projector. But trees also work very, very well if you have trees with leaves on them nearby. All right, so I'm going to do one more sort of quick pass through here in our comments, see if any questions that we've asked have gone unanswered. So if we didn't mention your specific location today, I really recommend visiting the website timeanddate.com. Well, timeanddate.com has lots of really great information about literally anywhere in the world, when, where, and how you can view eclipses. So if we didn't mention your location today, check out timeanddate.com. They have a lot. I mean, they are an incredible resource for viewing the times of eclipses, viewing what phase the eclipse will be in. It's a really, really great resource for any kinds of eclipses. Oh, hey, Raphael, if you're still tuning in, good to good to uh, good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so with all that being said, I don't see any more questions coming through in the comments here today. I want to thank everyone once again so much for joining us today, and for supporting Liberty Science Center and our planetarium online shows for the past year and a half. I've enjoyed them quite a bit. I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss seeing you guys every week or every month doing these shows. But if you really miss me, again, you can come visit us at Liberty Science Center. I'll be doing planetarium shows in there all summer long, right? So you can come by and check out the planetarium at Liberty Science Center. We would love to see you guys there. But thank you, everyone, once again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and good luck viewing that eclipse, June 10th, 5:30 in the morning, as the sun rises. Thanks, everyone. Take care.